We check the mic.
Wow.
You We're live. All right, welcome back to episode. This should be 50.
I think this is fine.
This is.
Our new
I've been
colleague.
saying 50 for a while.
It's
Uh,
50.
Episode air quote 50 of Drawing Blood. It's your inside look to our game #Blood, which is a top-down adventure, traditionally animated, frame by painstaking frame, which you guys might get to see today. I'm Chris Burns, and with me as always is Bob to my right, and we might even get some programmers in this chat here if Andrew and Cody and Greg aren't too busy. Let's see, I'm gonna do a little bit of a recap since we've been working on these spiders for a little bit. A lot's happened with them since we tuned in last week, so let me figure out what I got here because it's sort of a mess. Peter Carlson, here we go. Oh, hey, how's it going, Peter? Thanks for joining. I'm just going on a little bit of a recap here. Let me take a sip of my water. Thirsty. Have no water. Bob, could you pass me? Do I have a... Didn't...
You're gonna have to get one.
Oh, didn't I have one?
Yeah, they got put in.
Oh, okay. Cool. Back again. Thanks for joining again. Sorry, I'm thirsty. Had an omelet for lunch and it was salty. Alright. So, last we checked in, we had the spiders and we were kind of plugging along with how they're going to move across the board and stuff. And since it's a top-down adventure, we have to account for 5 angles, or 8 angles, but it's symmetrical, so we only count 5. So we're kind of treating it, you know, in the spirit of Zelda again, we're kind of treating it as those Tektite things that kind of bounce from place to place in sort of a trajectory. So that's what we're kind of doing with the spiders here. So I got some jumps here. I got to use that spin. The idols are the ones on top of it. So we have some jumps here. So now they can kind of jump in any angle and land in any angle, and that sort of eases the animation from if we're just walking with 8 legs and it turns, it would be a little choppy. This hopefully will make it look more traditional and more smooth. So we got some jumps there. This is a little manic, but we got some hits here. I'll go into each one of these and sort of explain what I'm doing, because right now it's not organized at all for Andrew and Cody, no programmers. So we got some hits, and I'm working on some hits for this angle now too. So we're working on level 1 still, and we're kind of trying to teach the players how we're gonna execute a combo. These spiders can die only by landing on their back and getting smushed, which is the 4th move of Becky's combo. So what we have to line it up is a series of hits. She does an uppercut, which knocks the spider on its back, and then she comes down, splats. And there we go, that's how it goes. Hey Lauren, how's it going? Love this splat type. Yeah, I do. I try to do a lot of that kind of type stuff. That's one, I just did that this morning. It's a fun little... Also, I feel like we can use it in not just this spider. Like, since we don't have any spider parts, we can use that of any kind of bug death animation. So let me go into each one of these hits. We're going to be doing some hits today with the couple angles. So I got that hit. Sort of one hit to the left. One to the right. Smacked around, and everything always returns to idle. That's in case you don't execute the combo. So we go back to sort of kind of a blank slate, and then he can move and do all his things since everything kind of centers around idle. We got an uppercut. Hit. He lands on his back, right? That's a little crazy, but that leads into this, which we could cycle this one forever as long as we want him or her to be on his back. Then if you ignore him and don't splat him, we got sort of this get up here, which he kind of spins out of, lands, again returning to idle, and then the attack continues. If you're lucky enough to hit the splat, which we just showed. Now I did the same exact thing from this angle. So the hit to the left, hit to the right. Let's get the blood in there. did a hit from the back. A cycle for that. And luckily I get to use the spin again, and then returns to idle. Oh, thanks, Angla. I was waiting all week for the stream. Well, I look forward to it too. It's the only time I really get to fully invest in our video game. So, but I'm glad you love it, and thanks for the effects compliment. The same exact splat death because since it is has text on it, and the splat is so big that we can use this for any death, and with these hits, we can use this for any angle that's remotely facing forward. So we could use it for 3/4 and profile, and the other two, 3/4 back and completely back, we can use this one. So we really only have to do 2 hits for each one now, and some get-ups, which we're working on that. And to further illustrate my example, I kind of set up a little bit of animation here to kind of see what we're doing. So there's an example all the way to the left here and middle. If you kind of don't kill the spider, so you execute 3 moves of the combo, then he can return to that. Everything's the same exact timing, and that's the trouble with animating top-down adventure. We just can't afford to just do one angle. We have to do all the angles, so that's what we're kind of stuck with doing right now. Alright, so let's hop to it then. I set up some of these hits to already... I'm reusing the effects here. Just if we spent time to rotate all the effects, I mean, that would just be a little outrageous, I think. So you can see here it's kind of doubling up, because I'm going to do that stagger that I've been doing throughout these ones. So I'll ease out of both of these, and then ease in, ease out to get back to idle. Can you hit the spider during his get-up state? I think so. I think anytime you hit him, I think Becky's both vulnerable during his jump attack, or she can hit him during the jump attack. That's ultimately up to Andrew. I think it would be fair to the player to have him vulnerable as long as you swing, and vice versa. Like I made this thing, this might play a little crappy, but yeah, it's playing a little bit. But this is sort of the idea here, where we got they can kind of jump anywhere. Now you see they're jumping over Corey, which presents another kind of problem that I had to discuss with the team. If we do, I kind of want shadows for these, because if we don't have any kind of point of reference to where the floor is for the spider, then the jump doesn't really work. But then it becomes a layering issue here, because you can see it goes under Corey here, but if it's part of the sprite and above him, you know, that's going to be a little wonky. That's sort of why we avoided shadows too so far. But like anything, we're finding more challenges, and hopefully we can find solutions too. I also was playing around with the idea. The Tektites in kind of made a grid here, like a kind of a chessboard. So this is, I'm also playing with, like, if they jump on like a switch or something, spikes can come up. So I did a few different things. Now this is just the spider at one angle, and I just made a trajectory for him. Now that's the same exact symbol, all 3, and I alternated them. So we could play the spiders in this angle too. Just you only see one angle of them, and that would make things a little simpler, but I want the team to have some options just in case. We all do. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Alright, so anyway, enough of my jibber jabber. Let me get to animating. Time's a wasting. Alright, so I'm going to start with this guy here. I'm going to turn off all the layers except the bottom one, and I'm just going to settle into this one first. As always, I'm trying to keep a line weight fairly consistent, so I have my percentages burned into my brain. 400, and second to last brush. Now with these settles and stuff, you know, I take a lot of liberty with these in between. So when it's something fairly simple like this, these lines aren't too far apart, like this line and this line. So I take that liberty of not even roughing it out because I sort of know what I'm looking for. Roughs are really for my cleanup purposes. Like I don't, and when I feel like I can execute the cleanup, I'll forego some roughs, which I'm sure it's an animation no-no if anyone is really paying attention. But we're a small team and we had to get it done. So tradition be damned. All right, let's do the hair here. I'm kicking myself for picking an eight-legged bug, or where you see, since it's top down, we could have got away with the legs under the torso, which would have made things so much easier for me. Just in betweening these, it's a lot of drawings, but I think it looks cool, so it's the sacrifice we make. Just quick little actions here, and then I'll show you, once I finish these two, how I'll set up the hit sequence from the 3/4 view with Becky and the spider, kind of like that other file I sent. Time it out right, and then hopefully send it over to Cody or Andrew. Get this thing in the game. Andrew. We have we make fun of Cody often, and he's never on the Twitch, so we can do that here, or even if he is, I encourage everyone to. All right, is he here?
No.
I want him to show up. I haven't seen Cody all week. We missed our weekly meeting. Oh my gosh, I'm so thirsty. Please position myself right. Alright, let's get to it. So yeah, I just have to do 2 hits per angle now, since we have like the third and the kill hit right now for everything. I always try to get a lot of mileage out of these, so thus the spinning was gonna work for this spider. It's sort of an agile spider, so we'll just pretend that's more work instead of less work, even though it'll be our secret. And once I finish these hits, I think the spider can be put to bed. We'll move on. We have to fill out the neighborhood with like NPCs coming up and talkies and all the stuff we don't really attack to make it feel like a real full level one. In the demo, we have the scene where Becky takes she takes the bus to school, and the bus is completely filled with her classmates and stuff, so it really feels like the way we intend the game to feel, just full of animation and full of life, and which unfortunately means we have a lot more animation to do, but it's the look we want, and I think it's worth the time and effort. Let's see here. Let us know too if I know my microphone's in front of my computer this time. Last week it was behind where the sirens blare. Oh, here comes this. We could hear a siren, or is it just a big diesel? Big diesels coming through. So So the stagger's meant to give it a little more impact too when she swipes. Debris and stagger and all that stuff, I use it often. It fixes a lot of problems you might have in animation, especially during action scenes. Debris I use often. I love using debris. Plus the effects stuff's always a little more fun. It's not as rigid or something. A lot of, since this game is all we're trying to get the same timing. There's a lot of like formulas too, like the ease ins, the ease outs, the settles, and all that stuff is very formulaic. So that to spice it up, the effects animation doesn't have to fit that mold. Oh, you think you know? Yep. We were looking. My last name is Burns, and Bob's last name is Fox, and we were trying to get some sort of clever name out of that. When we were sitting in Bob's apartment when we were just trying to think of studio names. When we were secretly working on an exit strategy, an exit strategy to get out of our places that were employing us. And I forget who suggested it, but was it just like?
Not your wife at the time, but your.
Oh, my fiance suggested it at the time, not my wife. And at the end of, we looked at Last Exit, and that was like a bar. Probably should just open a bar. Now that I think about it. I think, oh, hold on, I agree. Yeah, Peter, this is a labor of love for sure. I'm gonna color this first. So we can get that over with. Like anything that you have some passion for, it's probably worth putting the effort in. I'd hate for it to go live and then see something that I wish I animated more. I'm kind of bad that way when I finish something or we send something out, then I'll look for something wrong in it. I could usually find something too, like a layering issue or something I should have tried more. There's always layering issues with the tweets. When you work Smash Mouth, it's the way it's gonna be. Okay, so wait. Which one is? Oh, okay. But I'm sure all of us artists have a passion project on the side. We're lucky enough that we're working again on a couple right now, not just a video game, but we're helping out some friends with some fun new kind of we'll have a short, hopefully ready to air by summer.
I probably wouldn't mind if we start doing some of those.
Yeah, we could probably do that. I don't think they're pretty open about that stuff. It's the I suppose I could tell you guys, it's the team that we teamed up with when we made our adult animated short Flexcalibur. Since we swung and missed with that one, we're going for a different age group, and they're tremendous writers and a really great musician, so it's really easy working with them. They sort of send us the ideas, and they let us kind of animate the way we think we should animate, and we'll get the radio play, and that hair's wrong, and the voices, and then we're just off to the races. We started the animatic, and it's going to be about a 3-minute short, maybe a little longer. It's a fun style, and we started it this week actually. Very excited, working on the boards. And kind of boards then right into Bob just started right into backgrounds before we even got to the 30-second mark of the animatic. And then we're working with another indie game dev for his trailer. So there's some fun projects. Now, if only some of them paid. Alright. This is where the layers get confusing every time. Yeah, I'm charging for that, but it's a real small production, and we helped him out earlier, and so it's just sort of he's going live soon, and I really like the guy, so that one's not free, but it's close, close enough. If there was a margin of error, it would consider itself free. But he's a good guy. It always helps when I like the project too.
Isn't that your text?
There's I substitute teaching occasionally for my buddy Chris Wallinger, and he teaches a class on the animation industry for SVA. And he came up with the phrase, and I don't know if it was his, but I'll give him credit. He said there's budgets and stuff, and that there's like kind of a template for that, and then there's like a sliding scale for how much you love or dislike the project. And it's like, if you like it more, you charge less, and vice versa. So there's a lot of our projects that Bob and I work for that's on the other side of the love spectrum. So we try to charge more. Not much avail, though. Let's get this spider done. I feel like I've been doing this. I love those deals. I'm working on a project that's kind of a favor animation for a documentary. Oh yeah, what? We were a part of a animation documentary not too long ago. I don't know if it's out now. What's the documentary about? Are you just animating for it, or is it about animation? Yeah, we're part of a documentary called Hand Drawn Animation. And this director, Felicity Mortland, she came in. I think she's from Australia. Somewhere, or New Zealand.
Yeah.
One of those two. And she got some real heavy hitters in it. And that
for a while there.
she gained steam. She approached us very early on. I don't know if maybe we'll make the Blu-ray extras. But she got some.
Well, yeah, we got released. Ours was on YouTube.
Oh, ours was a YouTube one.
Or like the extended version. So.
Yeah. I didn't think we'd. Well, but she got some real big time people. Well, we were talking about hashtag Blood on that actually, and Flexcalibur. It all comes full circle. I'm animating sequence. That's all I could say, Andy. Gotcha. Yep, I know those. We signed a few of those. Alright, so this stagger is just about finished after cleaning this one, then just an ease in, ease out. Then we move on to the next one. And then 3/4 is finished. And button up that one. Oh, I still have to do well, we have two more sprites after this one, then 3/4 is finished. Then I go on to my least favorite angles, the 3/4 back, which with these characters that are they're so 3/4 heavy, I feel like, especially like Becky's face or any of the characters' face, it's very 3/4 centric. So when you lose the details like the eyes or the mouth, it's hard to convey any emotion. So I'm never really a fan of that profile. Just feels like an unnatural camera angle or something. So I save those for last. Usually for nighttime when I don't have to think. Alright. Andrew also was tweaking up on the Corey robot fighting scene. That played real nice. Got to play that this morning. And we fixed the doors and everything. It's playing like a real legit video game in my opinion right now. I'm really happy with it. This 8-leg stuff. This is the last 8-leg creature. I'm calling an audible.
Well, we have some more in the poster though.
Yeah. I would rather make a new poster. Can we make a new poster? Hold on, I missed a bunch of stuff. Oh, okay, but the subject matter in the film is something I've experienced, so I gave them a good rate. Yeah, no, that's the thing with animation, you know, there's no real set rate. I know it's part of the stuff that bothers me, honestly. Oh, if you guys didn't notice what I did there, let me just explain this for anyone coming up. So I did these two ease outs. They all set out to the same exact frame. And to get the stagger, I just move the top one over one frame and then drop it down. Like that. So we get this kind of shake back and forth. Like if you shot a bow and arrow into a wall and you slowed it down, you would see that it like shakes violently until it just stays and it's straight. Then I just follow the timing. The chart here, we got that. Move that down. So I got the shake. I got the blood in there, so I know what color it needs to be. So I'm just gonna collect the ones. But as I was saying, spider people, the rest are 2 legs. But yeah, I don't even like the legs. Like Becky has we scored with Becky because unwillingly we just made her have like this robe, and I just thought it looked cool. I didn't realize how much time I was saving. But no, I was saying about animation and pricing and stuff. There's no. I know when you get into LA and stuff, there's the union and they have their specific rates and stuff. But we have projects that range from, you know, fairly high to really low, and there's not a lot of in between. It's sort of strange. We don't have a lot of like right down the middle prices. And I don't know if it's because we're a smaller studio that smaller clients reach out to us, and you know, the smaller the client, or the cheaper it's going to be because it's usually an individual, not with a lot of expendable cash. And okay, so we got that. Now we're going to settle into that. So that's one down. Let's just get an ease in, ease out. I did the middle right there, so the hard frame's finished. This one I might need to rough out, though. Oh, yeah. I'm going to need to rough that out. So, I did this last week, too. I'm going to grab that, just sort of move the head to where I can in between it a little bit quicker. Yeah, there's no way I can rough that out or clean it up. The guy's going to come around the back here. The talon or whatever that spider jaw thing is coming here. Okay, so now I can take that and move that accordingly, and the rest I can probably eye. The king has arrived. Oh, I haven't Neil. How's it going? I haven't. Were you here last week? I don't think you were. You didn't pop up in the chat, I believe. But thanks for joining in again. We have our regulars, and I love it. All right. Before the... Ooh, I forgot the eyebrow. Let me get that. The floating eyebrow. Let's see. I died last week. Oh, I'm glad you're back. Okay, no, so the mandible should go in front there. Got the little part of the leg showing up. It's the layering of the legs that that really got me confused on some of these in-betweens. A little shadow in there. Alright, so this leg starts popping up, coming in around. Just like that. Finish the back here. Yeah, I wonder if the boys wouldn't mind showing some of our process for the short we're working on. It's definitely different than this because we're working on story elements with the short, so it's not just specific little sprite animation. So it's a whole different narrative that we have to do. But you know, we can show. I just wouldn't want to give away any of the audio is the thing.
Yeah, I guess it's...
You know, that's something that's written, but we can kind of show how we go from animatic to final. You know, if it's just a shot. No audio. Alright, I'm going to grab this end now, bring it over here, do the same exact thing. I could probably clean this up without the rough, and then move the head once I just finish that. The eye's going to come around here. Okay, so now let me get the hair. Ooh, ooh. So that's the head. There we go. So that's the head. Yep. Almost lost the last drawing there. Line it up as best you can. And the rest is simple. Short, yeah. Oh, yeah. You just joined us. We're working on a new short with the I don't know if you ever seen our other short, Flex Caliber, but it's the same team working on that. A new short. It's for kids though, or at least a younger crowd. More YouTube friendly, let's say that. And hopefully more pitch friendly. Got no bites with Flex. It was only a year of our life,
We
right?
just don't really try either, though. We kind of...
No, we just kind of finished it and like, yeah, whatever. You're so tired after finishing something. It's like the idea of jumping into pitching and just getting rejected is... I don't have the patience for it. We'll let them pitch. They live in LA, so they're in the heart of everything anyway. But it should be fun. We were working on the boards this week, and we really got into doing something cool with the animatic and stuff, and it kind of like it's so cool when even as a person who's worked for 19, 20 years, when we kind of discover something new, what you can do, and I think we're kind of onto something really. it's very new for us. I know it's been done before, but it's something we tried, and I'm really excited about at least one of these shots. It's going to be a lot of work, but we really plotted it out, and we did it fairly quick too, which the animatic portion of it. I'm very excited to kind of take on that whole first 30 seconds because I think it's going to be a fun little showpiece. And that's what Bob's working on, trying to establish the line weight and the color palette and the background right now. We don't work in a real straight line, I guess, or completely straight, depending on it, because we're not even finishing the animatic before we start animation. But I find just with any project, it's like I don't want to spend the time on figuring it out because I think the figuring it out part is making the film almost. You know what I mean, Bob?
Oh,
Like what I mean, like it's just like we figure out stuff while we're making it. It's like if we just spent the time to figure it out then make it, I feel like that would be a waste of time almost. You know?
exhausted before
Yeah, you'd be kind of burnt out. So it's
and it
a
goes
lot
against
of
everything we complain about. So.
yes. Oh no, the we're all about kind of cutting down on the waste of production, and anyone who's been in animation long enough um, could. I don't think there's an argument saying there's very little waste. You know, there's a lot of waste in production. It's just all. It's a lot of meetings and a lot of talk, and I just, for me, who's just trying to get stuff done and get our idea out there, I find it very counterintuitive to the process. I don't like the waiting around part, discussing. I like the doing. I think my distaste for it grew when we worked on that pilot.
Oh my god.
I think that was just the worst
People just time
waste of
vampires,
management.
time vampires
Just
everywhere.
just such a. I still get bothered by that after all this time. It's like a big company thing. It's like a big company problem. They hire too many people. Mobile games, everything is super fast. No, I like quick, because then your idea's out there. Then let the audience judge, and then move on. Why? I don't know what there is even to talk about half the time. When you're on your own and working direct with the client, can't really avoid the meetings. We try to.
We've been doing a pretty good job.
We had this client recently. They were like, "We're having a meeting every Wednesday," and Bob and I just ignored that. We're just like, "No, we're just gonna hand you and stuff when it's done." And you know, they never questioned it after we started doing it. I try to avoid all those, because nothing's really said during it. If you really examine the verbiage of what producers are saying, it's nothing. They're word harvesters. Just harvest buzzwords and pretend like they're part of the process. Let's see here. Got confused. So that's the one. Okay, here we go. I hate when clients use film words they don't know. Yeah, no, they. I don't even. I don't blame the clients all that much. The ones that just want something made, I don't. That not knowing film terms or not knowing what to say. That's. If I go to a mechanic, I do the same thing. Like I don't know anything about cars, so when I try to explain it, I'm sure they when I leave, they're like, "Look at this idiot." Like that wasn't a carburetor. What's he talking about? So I don't mind those people. It's the folks in the industry that have no vested interest in the animation process. So we deal with producers for a while, and it's the same questions being asked of us. Well, like what does this cost? Or these are producers, mind you, not clients. What does this cost? How long should this take? And they're all really just trying to suss out information that they already know, and they're just hoping to kind of trap you into saying something that benefits them. It's it's just not for me, that side of things. I would never want to work on a full-fledged series because they're just I've had the opportunity to work on a few um, at other studios, and just seeing how everything was managed always sort of it was just confusing me, I guess. So I never like if someone said, "Can you do a series for us?" Unless it's 3 minutes an episode, I have no real interest in it. Plus, you get exhausted drawing the same thing. I say that as I'm drawing this spider for the 500th time. But so true. I just had I've been in a lot of meetings, um, just as an animation director, and it wasn't one of those. I wasn't one of the animation directors that sort of like I was in the gravel pit with all the rest of the animators, so I knew how much work was being done. And when I'm pulled into a meeting and they say stuff like, "Can we change the angle of this?" And I would kind of pipe up and be like, "We can." It would take a lot of time, and what's the point of changing the angle? I wasn't getting a lot of, well, we're changing the angle to make the shot better. I didn't get a lot of that. It was just something they just wanted to know about or something. It was, that's right there. Let's play that there. So it was just a lot of changing for change's sake, which then again, what, if animation, the purpose of animation is to tell a visual story and we're not telling it any better, but we're just changing it, then what's it for, almost? Okay, so that's working. Next week on Chris's tirades, we'll be talking. Okay, one more hit. So I just got this kind of settled. So this is the point where we start easing in and easing out. So what I'll usually start with is the hardest pose, which would be this one. This is just kind of the middle point of the ease in, ease out, which is the furthest point away from the in-between. So what I'm going to do is what I've been doing. Yeah, sometimes it feels like clients change things just so they can say they were a director. Oh man, here's I feel like I've said that like verbatim. Okay, I feel like I say that a lot.
Or just to say that they're
or to say that they're working or they're not busy. Or I always notice the people scheduling the meetings too are the people with the least amount of stuff to do during the day. So it's like, what do I do before lunch? Oh, I know. Let's talk about the script again. Okay. I could go on forever, but I don't want to come off bitter. I don't think I think I failed that. I'm trying to think of a meeting story that we could tell that wouldn't get any, which no one would recognize it's them that we're talking about, but they're also specific. Right, so that's a good halfway point. Now we're gonna have to kind of figure this out. So the head right here is blocking a lot of the feet, so we're gonna have to kind of wing it here. Something's messing up here like that. Almost this should be colored. That's what's going on. No. How about you guys? Do you have any meeting stories? Or those kind of producer-ish stories? No, I know some of you guys are producers. I'm not cutting into you guys, hopefully. Maybe you guys aren't producers. I don't know. I'm speaking to from an animation perspective. I know some of the video game developers have, you know, that they're in charge of actual stuff. All right, I think that'll work. I think that works. I'm stuck in that designer artist. Well, if you're all three though, then that's not the same thing. I have to read myself in. I'm so glad I've never been trusted with the money. Why is that? You think you would spend it unwisely?
Well, we would have used our budget on this opening shot already, so.
The opening shot we're working on in the short would have been if it was being produced elsewhere, they'd be like, well, we don't have the budget for that. It's a one shot. I love one shots. I love doing those. But this one takes a whole new kind of, a lot of background animation, a lot of perspective changes. I love that kind of stuff.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the Pee Wee Herman opening.
Yeah, it does have that kind of feel, like that. I don't even know what I would classify that as. No, because the producer always gets harassed. What's that, Bob?
That guy was just playing the siren like.
Yeah, they just like.
Just to be annoying.
I have plenty of producer stories, but I don't want to lay into them too bad. I'm also just tired and cranky, so I might be. I was up late last night. Probably don't even mean half this stuff. What's his body doing here? In games, production can make or break a project, but someone needs to be there to help all the departments. Yeah, no, I understand they serve a function.
We worked at a lot of places where they started crossing the line of that
yes.
to director.
Yeah, they take I understand it's like you need someone with a schedule, and you leave animators or artists to their own on their own will. They will take longer than the production should take, and I understand that from an animation perspective. If I had unlimited time, I would spend a lot more time on shots. So I get that. That makes sense. It's the part where Bob just kind of clarified, which is when production's running smoothly, they're not as necessary. So then they start kind of edging in on the directorial stuff. They start suggesting like shot changes and stuff where that's not really their wheelhouse. It's like once the budget and the schedule's done, it's like you can kind of move on to the next tier or worry about post production and stuff. It's the stuff where you're sitting there and you find yourself arguing with shot direction with someone who's never spent a day in a life drawing class, and you're trying to, and they're somehow the boss of that. It's crazy to me. I used to work as a marketing office for a mobile studio, so all my feedback was from producers and marketing people. Not fun when your directors don't know how to speak art. Also, we had a lot of meetings on brainstorming what we could do for following projects and never doing them. Yeah, no, I haven't been to a lot of meetings where I felt like I got much out of it. Even, we're working on this game, we'll have kind of weekly Google chats, and it's very, I mean, we all have our shorthand now, and we all know what everyone is doing, but it's all just useful information, and then we shut off Google Hangout and then just do it. And it's not a lot of like, so, what if we tried this? What if we tried that? It's a lot of just kind of like marching orders, and then we just do it. And I don't know. I feel like that's a useful thing. And a lot of it's like we're asking Andrew, like, what do you need next animated? And then he'll say we need that, and we're like, all right, we know what to animate now. He doesn't show up later and be like, instead of a spider, let's make it a butterfly. And I don't know, my niece likes butterflies, and that's like the reason we had to change it. You have to have someone that, the project management is different, I feel like, almost, but it's also, I don't even like the word, I like the word producer because it means you produce stuff. I don't like what they do, which is not exactly producing stuff. Gosh, I'm really laying into them. Should change the subject. These likes butter. No, I get the I wish if Chet was on here, he could confirm some of this stuff. We worked on this Comedy Central show. We designed, it was this called Ugly Americans, and one of them was it was the love interest called Callie, and she was half devil, half human and stuff. And I just remember my boss at the time, they got in a giant fight about her footwear and like what she was wearing, and someone was like, it shouldn't be sandals, it should be flats. And it was crazy to me because it was just something like, it just seems so inane when we're looking down the barrel of finishing 13 episodes and we're in the middle of animating the pilot, and we're talking about her footwear, which it's not part of the story. You could argue that it might be part of her character, but it flew over everyone else's head, and he just had to sit there, and someone came in and said we had to change her shoes. So from there on, we had to fix every shot, which is nuts. That had her feet in it at least, and then from then on, just do it. And it was like never explained why, other than it's because I said so. It's like what I scream at my kids. There are times when we could just drag out a charcoal grill and cook out different industries. Oh yeah, no, I understand producers. I'm talking, and I think in live action they do a hell of a job. That's something I feel like when you're reining in a bunch of actors and you have to find, that's something you can rely upon. When we're talking about the digital medium and all the actors here are on my Wacom screen, there's no place for it. It becomes less of necessity, in my opinion. I don't know, Bob and I run a studio for going on 8 years now, and we've never considered getting a producer. And we've taken the role of whatever they do, and outside of occasionally writing an email, we just draw. No, I couldn't believe that. I'm getting mad just hearing that shoe story that I told. Chet was here. He'd back me up. Chet knows what I mean. Chet is one of the animators at the studio that worked on Ugly Americans. That boy, we had him and I sat next to each other, and we'd always we were partying hard. Then we'd always go out to a bar after or something, and man, did we just lay into lay into the production. Very therapeutic. I'll be in a better mood next week. I'll just have to get some sleep on Thursday night. No, Bob. I was working on this morning, and I was just angry, and I was I don't even know what I'm angry at. I was just mad when I walked in. I came in late too because I had to get a coffee, and it was just I don't know what it was. Just one of those days. It's a full moon out.
The night I saw
What's
very little of a moon left. So.
Yeah. Yes, I did work on that. I was one of the lead animators for 7 years at Augenblix. Shoot, yeah, no, I still do. I still got that shoe.
There's always one little thing that the production is pushed off on.
No, it's one of those. I don't know what it is. I failed to. You know, it's something interesting that I've. When you're when you're an animator, and you're young and you're working on your first shot or your first job or something, you're very insulated. It's like, I just have to make this character look awesome. I have to do that. You know, you're not seeing the whole picture almost. So you want to spend all the time and get this character right and get all the proportions and all the stuff. You really want to make this scene sing, so you're really focusing on that. And as you get a little more seasoned, you start realizing, well, it's not just this character, it's the shot. And then more seasoned, you're like, what's the scope of all this? And more seasoned, then you kind of start slowly peeling back and seeing the whole picture. And when you're, as when we're working on that Comedy Central show, what my job was as one of the lead animators was not to really animate, but to see, is this animation telling the right story? And and therein lies the problem, where you want to make every shot look good, or do you want to make everything consistent and all that stuff. So any little bump in the road where it's a giant design change is going to affect the animation director. Or we were kind of like the revision artist too, because sometimes it got sent away, we cut back, and all the animation was not up to a standard that we were comfortable with, so we'd have to go in and fix other people's shots. So it was a really kind of tense project. So it's all these little bumps in the road that kept changing the production, and it really kind of gave me a taste for like what it meant to be one of the animators. It was less about animation than I was comfortable with. It just started being about getting. It was just like sort of like bailing out a sinking ship. But that's an unfair analogy, because it got 3 seasons and it wasn't a failure by any stretch. And a lot of people liked the show. It was a really funny show. But when you were just constantly fixing, and going into the revision team and stuff, it felt like, boy, this could be avoided you know, you have 18 months to do a season or whatever it was. Let's think about how to use this 18 months wisely. Um, Instead of always, it always felt like a crisis mode or something. And I've been on a few productions, and it always sort of felt that way. It felt like a lot of avoidable problems could have been fixed if we just planned a little differently. But then we watched some stuff on that Disney documentary about Zootopia, and the one of the heads of the studio or something came in halfway through and changed the whole movie, and I'm just like,
it was the first.
it was the first time he saw any part of the movie. That's crazy to me. And it's like, why did this take 6 years to make? And it's like, oh, because of that.
And that movie just felt like a movie that was.
No, it felt it. I know a lot of people like the movie, and I thought it was a pretty decent story and all that stuff. And I didn't dislike the movie, but it felt like someone came and changed kind of a cool, fun idea and made it complicated or something. And I don't. And maybe it's because I know that story that I feel that way now.
I felt like that. It felt like two movies to me when I watched it, and then I saw that and I was like, oh, that makes.
But that's crazy to me that someone could just come in like the head of whatever.
My theory is I have a feeling that my theory is Moana just snuck by while they were messing with that. And
yeah, because Moana was a perfect movie, you know, like
story.
I love Moana. It was just a simple adventure, like call to adventure, and her saving the day, and it was beautiful and all that stuff. And yeah, because they were going on at the same time, and it's like that could have happened.
That's my theory.
Well, it was something they probably should have changed. They had something about. It was like because they're all these animals, and something about there was like collars around their neck that was subjugating them, and it didn't feel right to whoever saw it first. But the decision was made, in my opinion, probably for the better. I don't think that would have changed the movie, and that would have been kind of weird to have this, device around every character's neck, something like that.
Well, I think that is in the movie. They have those.
Oh, do they have it in the movie? I guess it was always like that or something, or did he add that?
I don't think it was very. They made it more like socially, with the times.
Yeah, they changed it for social reasons, I'm guessing, but it was something. And listen, the change makes. That's not the part that's outrageous.
When we watched, it was just like it wouldn't have made any difference. Like it just.
No, it might have not have either. But the change. I don't even care about the change if it was made after the script was written. I'm mad that someone came in a year and a half in and said, "Hey, let's try this." That's what I. And that's crazy to me that just was allowed. And it because at a certain point it's just millions of dollars. You're just away on what? And if you want to be part of the production, then be part of the production. Don't show up 18 months in and then decide I need a voice. That's crazy to me. And then I had a similar documentary about The Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
Which ended up probably being a good thing. But again, let's change it when we should change it, not when people are animating something. And, I don't know. What's the point of a script? Yeah, that new sloth. Yeah, it was like meant to be a meme or something. Like they just had that sloth. Like they built it around that scene.
So how do we make a movie?
How do we make this sloth character into a meme? But I don't. That's the crazy part to me, is the systematic changes that happen while in production. I don't. Then if you're not going to read the script, then I don't think you're allowed to have a voice for it.
Script and you don't see these problems with it, then
yeah, no, that's what
you're not a director.
But that's what the script is for. Is the script is the problem solving.
And so are the storyboards and the animat, like that.
Yeah, for shots and stuff, but not like problems you have with the story. That's what's crazy. It's insane, and it's like this is Disney. It's like you've had 100 years of trying this stuff. Why are you doing
They're
this?
still messing with the formula.
This formula that's been tried and true since Snow White. What are you doing? It's also kind of like this digital thing. It's like too easy to change now,
Yeah,
so
so-
people think they can change it easier or something. Now that we're not painting on cell.
Sting, like it sounded like Sting had no.
Oh, Sting kind of got it. He's like, what's this movie? Was that, what was that one?
That was the one. And I don't know if
Was
they
that-
said Kingdom of the Sun. I don't know what the documentary was called, but it was about how they changed Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, but he like kind of put his foot down. He's like, I'm not being part of this if this is the way it's gonna be or something.
Or he was gonna, and then he said, "I gotta finish what I started" or something. Just,
Oh,
it
is
was
that-
crazy. I don't think he was ever happy with how it turned out.
I thought that was a good movie, Emperor's New Groove. I kind of liked it.
No, I don't know if he was happy with the music or something.
Oh, the music. I mean, it wasn't heavy-handed. I think I liked it because it was jokey or something.
Oh, the Chrome.
Yeah, it's like a funny, fun kind of.
It's the same story form. And like, what is it? Only like 7 storylines or something. What was the?
Well, Shakespeare said there's only 5 or 6 stories. I mean, you could reduce it probably down to 2. Just good versus evil if you want. Yeah, Kingdom of the Sun. We're using this. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just, well, animation. The funny part about this craft, I don't know. I don't know if it changes another. Is there like people who are super into pottery and someone's trying to break the mold? That's not a play on words, but like it's like, well, you mold the clay and then you use the kiln. Or is anyone trying to change that formula? It's weird that we're just trying to change stuff now that's been working since the dawn of the moving picture or something. It just I know that wasn't happening when like they were making the Jungle Book. They made the Jungle Book with like 12 animators, and it looked like they were left alone. Getting thirsty from all this ranting. All this screaming's making me thirsty. No, I feel bad for the animators. I feel bad for the people it truly affects. And then then there's all the horror stories about like the visual effects community when like that Life of Pi documentary came out.
Oh, Lauren said that sudden drastic changes. What does she write? Sudden drastic changes like Zootopia make me feel.
Like all my work is thrown away.
That's how
Therefore,
I started treating.
yeah, that's
Wonder
that's a
Pets-
really crappy way to feel,
Like-
and I've been there.
You
start
You were
feeling-
gonna get notes. Every shop was gonna get notes. So
Yeah, when you know you
just
get
start
notes.
in a place where you don't care anymore. So you just do it crappy at first, knowing you're gonna get notes, and then try to fix it up afterwards.
And then to try to avoid that, I remember we used to put like that term red herring. We'd purposely throw something in there that we knew was going to get changed because it was so heinous. But and in certain twists of fate, those would make it through somehow. I remember we did that on the first show I worked for. My boss was in charge of character design, and they it's a whole nother Twitch rant, but anyway, he made a bunch of designs, and there was ones that purposely looked so bad, and he was hoping that when compared to the ones that he really liked and everyone in the studio really liked, that Comedy Central would pick the favorable ones that we liked. And of course, they picked the ones that he threw in there as the red herring. So then we were stuck animating that. So it could sort of backfire. But no, you start feeling like when you know the notes are coming, then that's a different feeling for
I
production.
just stopped animating. I was handing in layout, and I don't think they even
noticed
that it wasn't I didn't do any of the keyframes in between it or anything. And just,
You were in a really revision-heavy show.
Yeah, just
company.
I guess just Nickelodeon and both those shows were.
Yeah, he worked for Nick Jr. for, was that Timu Mizumi or was that
Both were. Nick, like we worked at
Little Airplane?
Little Airplane was Wonder Pets, and that
Wonder Pets.
yeah,
That was the one
very
where.
Division heavy too.
So what would happen with Wonder Pets a lot is, well, it sounds like they just kind of threw the boards away after they
The
were
boards
done.
meant nothing.
Yeah, the boards meant nothing, which again, my same theory on the script. Why do the boards? But you would change, like every shot was changed every time.
Every time you would go into sit in a meeting,
Yeah.
and just grab your pen and start writing down what's going to change in your shot.
And when it's,
Because it was just like the culture of like that's how this is done.
no, it becomes, it's sort of systemic in that way, that it becomes a revisionist kind of thing, and then that's the way production's done. And then we always when we kind of push back a little, there's always this weird moment when they're like, well isn't this how it's done? And we're just like, not really, but we'll do it. And then there's like, then it's always funny because then we work for the little guys, and we just handed in a fully animated trailer and a few times, and the client was just like, perfect, here's your money. Like there's like, I was expecting like, oh, you don't want anything changed, you know. So there's it's weird. It's either one or the other, I feel like, though. But I don't even link it to animation. I'm sure it's just everywhere now.
Yeah, it's a change.
Mhm.
I could imagine are people pulling this when they're getting a new kitchen? I'm sure. Like, oh no, I wanted a different backsplash.
I don't know. I
I'm sure
feel
those
like
guys are getting paid for their.
yeah, I
the new
can't
backsplash
imagine.
being put in.
I don't know in the like trade industry. My dad was a plumber. He's retired now, but I don't think they were like, you know what, let's try. I see you went with the copper pipe here. Let's try PVC for a little bit. You know, he just did his job and got paid. But I think in the restaurant industry, people send back food a lot, and
That's probably the
Brave New
closest.
World. Yeah, that's probably a little closer to what I'm. All right. And that's the secret. If you get so angry and talk about it, you don't even realize that you finished some animation here. All right, so that works. Everything working with the legs. Yep. Oh, so the boards were like, oh yeah, no, exhale, cigarette smoke. I learned a little bit. Yeah, then you kind of learn to like Bob you always delayed shots because you knew they were going to change. So then Bob was sitting there not doing any animation. 'Cause Bob's really quick at animation, like really quick. You were probably the fastest one, not to brag or anything.
I knew you knew it was gonna get changed, so I would just kind of lay it out and then go back and finish it off afterwards.
Yeah. So there was times though where you were sitting there doing absolutely nothing because
Little Einstein's that was the one. Well, that one was just the most well-oiled machine. That was
yeah.
There wasn't enough internet yet still to look at.
No, so Bob like it was a time when the internet didn't have as much on, so Bob probably saw everything on the internet.
I saw every YouTube video. That was like
Anything that was internet
just
safe on the work computers was seen by Bob.
There was that's like when Star Wars Kids started. That was like
Yeah,
right
that's
around
when
that time. That was so shit.
Poor Star Wars kid. Imagine being the first one that everyone made fun of. But no. So there's and I don't know when I thought it was cool at the time that it's like, oh, you got all this free time, but you ended up not. It's not as cool as it sounds, right? You're kind of bored.
Well, and that one was so well oiled. Like, yeah, no, that was.
But you know what I mean? It's just like you don't.
I didn't like that feeling at all.
No, like you kind of want.
No, I wish I had.
You want to be.
Like
you want to.
I wish I'd just kind of done like my own.
Yeah, work on your own thing. No. No, I don't know why I waited when I had 2 kids to start making a video game. I should have been doing this when I was single.
I do that too. I always give a client a day or two before I start revisions because they'll always email one more.
Oh yeah, no, that's another one. Oh, and one more thing. One more thing. We're looking at it again. It's always the same email too. This is a great start. When you get that, you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
this is a great start. Means I'm gonna change everything.
I like the direction you're going, but here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, no, this is fun. Make it funnier. That's a good one.
Or when it's like a 10-second clip and they've just been watching it for 4 days straight and they're still finding.
This is a great start. That one. That's always that one hurts. I want a great finish. What's some other ones that are good? I love the ones that are like make it funnier.
I mean, a lot of
Make it
times
edgier.
ours was just like it was just two directors fighting. Like make those flowers purple. No, make them pink. And don't make them purple.
Like, and there was
It's
2
just
directors
Like, yeah,
saying
it's
it.
just. Oh, okay. So which one are we gonna do here?
So half purple, half pink. And then didn't you did shots, and
been
then
told to take
they
animation
you
out.
told them to take it out, and then you handed in the same shot, not change anything, and they were like perfect.
That was the best. Somebody actually did that with the background one time. One of my friends. He had a whole they gave him a whole list of notes.
And he didn't
to
do
do.
anything. They were
changed
like,
it,
"This
and
is
he showed it to them
perfect."
again the
Mwah.
next day, and they were like perfect.
This is great.
Just to show that it didn't.
Real subtle changes here. It's gorgeous.
He finally got caught. He was always sneaking things into the background.
Oh, man, I love it. I love that. That's hilarious.
Like Mother Teresa or something in the clouds.
He got in trouble when he got caught, though, right? Like they were really.
I don't think it was too bad because they only caught him with something.
No, nothing bad though.
No,
But they were
no,
mad that they
yeah.
put a face in there or something.
He put his own mustache or something on a character or something like a background character.
And that was a big
Like
no-no.
a background element, and I guess somebody saw that finally.
It's- that's when they put their foot down. That's so funny. I love that. What was his name? Or do you know how to say it?
I won't say it. Just
Okay. That's really great.
I think he's pretty high up at Nickelodeon now. Anyway,
Oh,
so
is he?
it's even better.
No, the shoe's on the other foot.
If somebody does it to him.
He seems like the guy who would
No, he wouldn't.
not even care.
It was kind of just to stir things up because it was such a
Just a boring
the
kind of thing.
morale there was so low.
Yeah, I heard stories of that. I went for an interview there once. I remember, and I had no idea they were so squeaky clean, and I worked on just a few shows that were very adult oriented, and I made it was for a kid show what I was going for, but I just thought they were going to be kind of looking at the caliber of animation that I was hoping to show. But I made this, I called it my violence reel, which is just all this puking and blood and all the stuff that I had fun with on the first series I worked on. And it was like an in-person interview. I didn't just send them the link. I was in there while everyone was watching it, and there was just crickets. I was like, oh my god, I felt so embarrassed.
The
They're
worst
like,
part
well,
of,
that was interesting.
working at a big company like that there was probably I don't know 40 to 50 people working on this show, and every morning we would do a morning meeting
Yeah.
that would take upwards of an hour usually, which
Yeah.
each person would have to say what they were doing that day.
Like,
And
it
then,
affects
so
everyone
now,
else.
then we're all we're already an hour behind on work. And then at the end of the day, oh, you're gonna have to stay late and finish this now. And it's just
Yeah.
well, I gotta one we can fix this real quick.
Well, also from a budgetary standpoint, if there's 40 people and you waste an hour, that's a week's worth of work that just goes explaining that you're working on what I presume you were working on yesterday. crazy. We used to have just like weekly meetings, and it wasn't even a very big team, like when I worked at another place. And it was like once the person, like you were allowed to leave the meeting once the person wasn't involved in it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like you're sitting there listening to what Chris Conforti had to do when it didn't affect your work. Strange times. Strange time, this animation. It is something about the digital age made it, it uprooted a lot of things, I feel like, in good and bad ways. I think, not to be an optimist, but I think for mostly the good, but
it's weird because it's like a lot of these places, I feel like what they really want to do is get rid of the artist altogether. They just want
Well, that's funny you should mention that, because I think that's what, like when I went into that god-awful interview,
that's all they wanted to do.
They were kind of, I didn't realize it was for just a Flash job, and it was because they thought Flash was cheaper than After Effects, so they were...
just heard Flash is cheaper, yet they were doing photo manipulation.
No, so I was taking PNGs and like it wasn't tweening right, and
they were just trying to. It was really bad. I remember.
Well, it was just so disingenuous to do that while you guys were working on it.
The worst part was my one good friend was like the director, like a assistant director, and he had to take off time to do the Flash test, so he didn't finish his shots.
So you had to do his shots?
No, so then he got demoted from animation director.
That's such a low move. Oh my god, that's awful. I don't mean to laugh. He got demoted for, oh my god, for trying to help them too. When I draw comics, a lady said I thought the comics drew themselves. How is that possible? No, like, people outside the industry, it's funny. Like, I can't even explain what I do to my parents. They don't understand any of it. It's all yeah. It might as well be in Greek to them. I don't mind that though, that they don't know. It's the like I have less umbrage with the clients, honestly, than the people who mess it up from within. I can't believe he got demoted.
Him and the other director both got demoted because they didn't finish on time, because both of them were moving towards this other project and trying to make everything cheaper.
Did someone get someone get promoted? Yes. Oh my god. That's crazy.
And then they started that thing where they had the producer in the room with you to try to...
Oh my god. This is that's crazy. That's crazy.
It was.
That's a crazy story.
It's a terrible industry.
Yeah, my mom just says graphic designer. My parents always, they don't... Well, my dad knows virtually nothing about it at all. Like, he doesn't even... He's like, oh, that's nice. Kind of stuff like that. But my mom confuses 2D and 3D. So, like to a real grand scale. She's like, so... Like, she'll be watching Toy Story and she'll be like, so this is 3D, right? And I'm like, yes. Like, stuff like that. And then she's always like, you guys can't do that, right? It's like, no, we can't.
We did a podcast once with a horror story about...
Oh yeah, we did. Well, we can't even, yeah.
But we had to change a whole character from a boy to a girl one time.
That was our first job. One of our first jobs. We finished animation. There's so many things that went wrong with that project, but I think the biggest one that sticks out is we finished animating this 3-minute short, and it was no dialogue or anything, so it was all just acting and action and all this stuff. And then they're like, "This is great. We really like it. Can you change this character to a girl?" We charged them and they were fine with it, but
But it was like
That was
they
crazy.
They were under the assumption it could just kind of be like.
Yeah, they're
based
like in
innocent.
Flash, if I hit F11, it changes the gender of the character or something. Like
That's good. That's in the new animation. That finally they fixed it.
they did that. They did that in the new character
Gender
animation.
specific. That's F12.
It's just I just when were we at your bachelor party when we got that, or was it mine?
Yours.
Mine, yeah. We're just sitting there. Bob and I were both drunk, reading this email, and we're like, what? We're like, are they out of their mind? Oh yeah, yeah.
There was some, what did I was reading something on Twitter today. Somebody was talking about. I guess there's this guy that has been scamming people on animation Embassy again. Like it was sounding
Really?
like the Animation Collective kind of thing, where it's like they
Oh.
hire a lot of people and then don't pay them.
Like they were trying to get funding for the next job to pay the next job.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I was always
Like a Ponzi
it
scheme.
was some guy that was kind of back at it again.
Oh, was it a guy that done it before?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
gosh.
they like resurfaced again, and so they were all like trying to warn everybody on Twitter, don't answer that guy.
Oh, what? And this was yesterday?
Yeah.
What baffles me is like, oh, why would you do that again? Like after being, like, do you think you could get away with it, or? That's funny. You worked for Animation Collective too, though, right?
Yeah, I got paid, but there were so many people that didn't.
I've never not got. Well, I guess we did at the studio recently, but I've never really not got paid. And it's funny, the studio one, it was like we just got rid of a bad client. We're just like, that's fine. like this makes it real easy not to answer those emails again. But when I was a struggling animator with no money and, living in the expensive city, that like not getting paid for a week would have been devastating. It's not the guy that we know, though, right?
No,
I
I don't know if he's ever resurfaced again.
Yeah,
like, I remember
that-
that guy.
that guy
He tried
went
to
in
start
disgrace.
another company again, like
Oh, yeah.
the Larry Schwartz guy. That's right, because Matt Burnett, the guy that created Craig at the Creek. He was gone. He worked
Oh,
there.
he
He used to be, because he worked with me at
Oh, but is he the one who tweeted out? It's like, don't
No,
work with
but
this guy. Oh,
he used
okay.
to tweet
Because
about
that would be,
Larry, 'cause he
that'd
got
be
screwed
awful.
by that Animation Collective guy, so he would always go off on him, like publicly. He just didn't care.
Oh, well, if you get, jilted, I understand. It's a funny industry because people assume you love what you do, and a lot of us do love what we do, but the idea that we shouldn't get paid for that is sort of floating out there for some reason. I got approached at Erin's son's birthday about animating a music video for free from one of my friends, one of my wife's friends. I was like, I'm not doing that for free. Are you? She was like, otherwise it would just be me as singing on just live action, me singing. I'm like, yeah, well, it's gonna have to be that. It's like, or you don't need a music video. Well, I'm sitting there like playing with, like I was on the floor playing with my youngest son, like blowing up a balloon, and then she's like, "Excuse me." I'm like, "Yes, can I help you?" It's like, "Oh yeah, let me drop my son off here. What are you thinking?"
A lot of that.
Yeah, sure. They spend months of my time.
I get it more from people that don't.
No, I understand it too. Like I just was like, nah, it's like that costs a lot of money. I said or something. That.
But yeah, that's.
But it's like she's a musician. If I just, it's like, hey, you want to score my film for me? It's only 2 hours. I don't think she would jump on that.
Oh, what's her?
Yeah, Yeah.
What's her name?
I'll tell you when the camera's
No,
off.
I assume.
I think you know who I'm talking about. It's exactly her. It's exactly her, though.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Yeah, no, it's right on the money. No, it's just really funny that like at family functions, I get that a lot too. Like
Yeah, I got that at a funeral one time.
a funeral. I got at weddings. I get cornered a lot. It's like it's my like.
Well, so it used to be like I got a great idea for.
Yeah, no, that was a lot. It's like, oh, you know who you should. You know what would be the perfect cartoon? Crazy Uncle Andrew. You know, it'd be like you should see him cut it up on the golf course. I'm like, yeah, and you're just sitting there like, I just tried to use the bathroom here.
20 to 2 people.
Yeah, not even to Uncle Andrew, just his two sons. It's a funny. It is funny though. And that's like such a common theme throughout anime. Like that's such a common theme that's happening to every animator I know. Always gets approached. And then you get
Now, especially with the digital age. Too.
oh, you get like the random emails and stuff all the time. The spider's almost finished.
That's what the good thing. Like Curious was run so well that Little Einstein that I used to get to go work on other projects. Like they had a lot of commercial work.
Well,
series
yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that stuff. I love when something's run. Something's so soothing to me when something's run so well that it's. I don't know why more studios don't aspire to treating your employees so well that you'd be inspired to work on other stuff and having a good production to make things smooth.
Just never know. There was never no like. That
No,
was the one thing.
like it was a continuity stuff. I get
that's
that.
all they changed ever,
Yeah.
and like it was so. It was never like, can we try this? It was never, can we try this? It was just.
Well, continuity is
Yeah.
important. I think it's jarring when like if two characters were talking to each other and they were it was a 2-shot and then you cut to another 2-shot like a little clip like that's a weird. It takes you out of it. So I understand that, and that makes sense.
Minor issue. Like we just fixed that kind of stuff. It was never. It kind of just was like what they didn't want it over animated, and they just wanted it to be.
No, when the revision makes sense to the story or to the like, if he was holding a cup in this scene, why isn't he holding the cup in the next shot? That's a completely understandable change. And that's something that can be glazed over in like a rough board. That's something that.
I don't even know how many places are still doing that. I just
Doing what?
Like just series work like that. Just like nowhere.
I don't know. I don't know if the Zeitgeist changed at all. Like the production model changed from. It could have changed since we've, 7 years is a long time. Well, Titmouse is doing something right because they're giant. Like they can't afford to be
they
bad.
They came in and took over, like bullied their way into taking.
Yeah, I mean when you're that big,
down
you
to
can do that.
second, but
Yeah.
then, everything went down after they came in.
Well, I know every other studio in New York had felt a little bit of their wake for sure.
Everyone I worked for is gone.
Yeah, the New York scene is sort of dire now. I feel like in terms of that kind of work.
They used to have like up and down, but I feel like it hasn't been up in a while.
No, series work all kind of moved to LA, and all that's pre-production. But it's but they have to know what they're doing has been my argument. And the air of quality they have is always really very above par. All their stuff's really polished, I think.
I don't think that, but they seem to just do the Adult Swim stuff.
Yeah.
Right at,
Saw an interview not too long ago where he said he was doing 16 series.
well, I think it was even more than that, right?
That's crazy. And that's just, yeah. That's a different world than you and I. We don't live in that world.
I'm okay with that.
I'm really okay with it. Now, series is a whole different. That's sort of like a Ford assembly line at that point, I feel like. Can't believe. I'm still laughing at that demotion story.
That one was fun. I forgot how bad that was.
Oh
That
my
guy,
God.
we
That's
it's
so
my friend
low.
that we
That's
see
like,
every
that's
time at-
so
at
low.
Leeds thing. That was like, it was him.
Does he bring it up?
I don't.
I would
remember,
think
like,
that would be a
forgot
story
all
I
about
would
it,
tell
'cause
my
it's
grandchildren.
Like it was, because it was like right at the end of. Like they did it on the last episode of the first season. Like they just did that on the last season because they were trying to make the next season cheaper.
Did he come in the second season?
No, everybody left and went
Yeah.
to Umi's.
Oh, so they went to Curious?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no,
That's a
that
bad-
it was being done at Nickelodeon at that.
Oh, okay. But not at Little Airplane.
No, Umi's was being done at like the actual Nickelodeon.
That's a bad sign when everyone leaves too, isn't it? I mean, that's a
Oh,
real.
yeah, no, everybody was just waiting for.
That's yeah. You kind of have to. That's gut check time. It's like we're doing something wrong.
I think they kind of started to try
They
to
sussed
do a lot
that out.
better after that.
Yeah. No, when everyone leaves, that's not good. Because every place I worked, everyone was extremely loyal despite the project. I think it's a testament to my old boss, too. He was good at that. It was always hard work. It was really hard work with him, but it always felt like worth it.
And the thing about being in a small New York one, we all learned. Like I got to learn.
Oh, I learned so much.
So many different
I didn't play that.
After Effects, Flash.
Oh, I just learned, like, just being thrown into doing storyboards. It's just like you learn so much. You know, it's learning on the job. That was the real education that I did not get at my old school. Well, hold on.
There's no school that could have prepared you for Fridays. The end
Not
of the
Fridays.
series.
It's your New York City is Drive for Animation work, and it's in LA, and lots of the CalArts Click mixed bag, or already Twitter, IG, famous artist. Yeah, I did. Twitter's a new thing that people get so big on that.
My thing with that is you don't know how long anybody spent on anything. You know, but I guess they don't really do animation in LA, so I don't know.
No,
It doesn't
I don't.
really-
The thing is with myself is if I'm not actually animating, like drawing in betweens, I don't feel like I'm part of the industry all of a sudden or something. Like I don't feel. I don't feel what I always liked about animation when I don't do it, and it's weird when I don't do it long enough, or I go on like an extended vacation or something. I always feel. What did I do here? Did I miss one? Oh, that works. No, I always feel like if I'm not drawing or animating, I'm not being relevant in it or something. I'm not wording it right, but did I do an extra in between here? Oh no, that's what I did. And we're gonna flip the blood on this one, and I did the same thing. I wasn't explaining that, so my bad. But gonna flip the blood here, so it kind of follows the trajectory here. But LA is very animation friendly now. But the pre-production side of things is interesting to me because Cal Arts, they really, I mean, Cal Art students do some of the best work I've ever seen. I can't believe some of the students how good that they're presumably under 22, how good they are. And it seems like I would try to use that on some level over there instead of you know teaching them to be a character designer and then send that somewhere else. I had the opportunity to look at some SVA students, and I was blown away by how good they were animating for their scholarship projects and stuff. It was insane. I would never show my stuff
No.
that that I was doing in college. Luckily, there wasn't digital then, so I don't even know where the beta tape went. I would if someone had it though. I think Matt Lee mentioned I have it somewhere. I was serious to him. I was like, I really don't want to see that.
It's funny though. Just watch like the other night when I was watching like Flex or something, and then on I guess when Vivian posted it or whatever, I watched Flex again. I was like, oh, I haven't seen this in a year. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then I was watching like Brutus the Bound, and it's just like how much better we've gotten.
Yeah, no, I see stuff we even in the studio. I feel like that could have used a little more elbow grease. All right, so we have one more thing to do. I can actually 18 minutes. Let me do this, and I'll show you what I'll do. Hold on, we are missing a bunch of stuff. Same with Ringling. These thesis. Oh, I agree. I can't believe how good the students are doing. I feel like the future is very bright for animation. And so many people are invested in traditional stuff. There was a lot of talk when I was leaving school. It's like, this is the end. MTV shut down in New York, and I was just like, this is the end. It's like we're watching the sea change. Not so. Almost every kid show, at least half of them are traditionally animated.
Flash animated.
Yeah, but then you look at like Cartoon Network stuff. There's not a lot of 3D stuff. Almost.
Wasn't there talks of them going down too?
Is Cartoon Network going down? They better get on that streaming service. Cut a deal. Cut a deal with Netflix, everyone. Oh, they're going to HBO Max.
That was because they're part of that whole.
There you go.
Warner
Oh,
thing that got us
and there you go.
in deep trouble.
What did that? What we got in trouble?
Whatever when AT&T bought that whole thing and we couldn't get paid for it.
That was fun. 110. You guys ever have net 110 days? Bob and I did. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, let's set this up. I got 15 minutes. I could do that, I believe. So I draw everything at 400%. So when we shrink it, it's not going to show up this big on the screen. In fact, when I turn it off, this is what the game proportions look like in terms of line weight and stuff. So I draw big on purpose, so when we shrink it down to the size we're going to see it on the screen, there's less imperfections you can see here. So, and then it gets sort of that more traditional kind of pencil line that we're kind of trying to garner here. So what I'll do here is everything's registered now. So when I swap the symbols, it's just going to be very easy. So I'll make this a symbol. This will be Spider 5 because I have 4 others in here. Spider 5. I'm going to copy the timing of this guy. So you can see all this is embedded in the symbol. So what I'll do here is just mark the spots here. So that's the timing I'm going to keep, just to keep everything in unison. I'll Control-Alt-V. So this is the timing of the whole thing. Now the idle's just on loop here, so it's going to just keep looping and looping as long as I want. At this frame I know Becky's going to swing. So I'm going to swap this. Now I had to do spider hit 1. Make sure it's on frame 1 down here. So 1. This is her second swing. Sorry. Swap 2. That's on frame 12 because her hit's a little different. So 1, 2, 3. We're just gonna go back to hit 3. This uppercut. Now I'm gonna transform, flip horizontal here because she's punching towards, like she'll be punching upwards like this way. So I want him to feel that weight. So it's the same exact sprite. I just flip it. Now, what's nice about that, and since everything's registered, when I swap this one out for the spider on back idle, make sure that's frame 1, that'll remain flipped too. Now, the only problem is going to be when I do this one and swap to the death animation, the words are going to be backwards because this is the same exact symbol that we're switching out. So death 1, you see how that's little postmark there, that's a splat, but you see it's here. Now it's Talps. So we're going to modify, transform that, flip it. Make sure that's registered by just swapping it out here, actually. Death 1. Copy and paste that. Now everything is registered. This is not how they're going to do the sprite animation, obviously. But to showcase what I was thinking and to see if they can replicate this in programming or tweak it as they feel as they should. So we go like that. So that's why I make these deaths and hits pretty big. You know, every move is kind of like, it always slams and then eases in, slams and eases in. If I eased out, it would make for a very problematic game in terms of looking like a traditional animation thing, because you don't want to kind of like, you don't want to start slow and move into it, even though that's sort of the traditional animation way, which you'd naturally move. But for gameplay, when she hits a swipe, bats this guy around, you want the hit to feel instant. And that's why the colors are all the same too. We're kind of establishing a timing here. Okay. When I first animated this splat, I forgot the L, so I had to go in there and just said spat. Okay, so
You got into a spat.
I got into a spat, and she won. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this guy here. Gonna go in and get a 3/4 back Becky. Blood video game character. I'm gonna open up the big Becky. Okay, so I'm gonna grab. This is all Becky stuff. Well, not all of it, but most of it. So I'm gonna grab 3/4 walk, 3/4 idle. Just gonna paste this in here. Turn that to 25. Is this the walk? Okay, so I'm going to start with the walk. I'm going to make that a symbol. I'll call this Becky 5, since it's the 5th Becky. And then I'm going to copy the same timing for this one. So I'll know these are the swings. That's the idle. Netflix has been pumping out some great... No, they have been doing really good, great stuff. They are sort of taking over. Spat, disagreement, argument. Yeah, that is true. No, I finished animating it, and I was like, I'm bad at spelling, too, so... I mean, I wish not that bad, but... I can... Bob might make the argument. But I saw that, and I was like, this looks weird. And I'm like, oh, there's no L. And I morphed the words to fit into each other, so I had to start over. So this one is going to be the... Oh, we don't need that many keyframes. Swap it out. I don't... No. But you can see everything's all registered with her. I need 3, 4, back. That's not the one. That's an element, not a registered one. Where is the 3/4? There we go. So that's the idle. Cool. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the 3/4 back attacks. This is where organization would have helped me, but when you're working on something for 18 months, you don't let yourself do that. So I'm going to copy all those ones. I'm just going to paste them in here. They're going to be big, but then I erase them. They're just in the library now. So swap, I just look for a 3/4 back attack. So that's one. This is two. Make sure this on frame 1 always when you're doing this kind of mock animation. 3, we got an uppercut. That's one. And then the big smash. I'll make sure that's one. And if I timed it out right, hopefully it did, then it goes right to idle. So all the timing's the same. So what I'll do here, I'm gonna line her up right, make sure. That's, if you, let me go that. If you hit shift, if you hit shift in Flash MX and you move diagonally, you should get a perfect, like one, like if it's an X-axis and a Y-axis, a perfect 45-degree angle. So that's what I do for that. Just gonna motion between that, so she's kind of walking up to it. Doesn't even have to be that far. So that works after all that. So that works. So now all that's left for the 3/4 one, 3/4 spider, is I have to do, if we chose to walk away from this and he's on his back, just the rotational thing that gets the spin out of it, in other words, which, this is the same file. That's not the file. Under properties, there we go. Which is its version of this. So what I'm gonna do, I have all this stuff, or like I don't have to do this spin ever again, thank God, because that took forever. So all I really have to do is the settle into idle. So I'm just gonna be responsible for the frames from frames 22 to 40 for that. So what I'll do here, let me show you, is I'm going to take the 3/4 jump. My mouse is acting real bad. It might be the battery. So what I'm going to do here is grab it from here. This is the first frame of the jump. Copy those frames, right? Control-Alt-C. It doesn't matter which one I use. So I'll start with the idle. Modify, duplicate that symbol, so everything's registered. And I forget what I called it. I think let me just make sure what I called these, so I don't. Spin back, get up. Okay, so spin 3/4, get up. Modify, duplicate symbol, spin, get up. Gonna go in there. It always registers to the first exact frame, so I'm going to need this frame here. I need to drag that all there. I'm just going to break all this. It's all on one layer. You can see how many layers I have here. That's the problem with 8 legs. Going to start a new layer here. So that's the very beginning of the spin. So it goes into here, and then he's eventually going to land and kind of overshoot, which I did with, it's better, let me show you this one. This one's kind of showcases a little bit better. So since he's spinning, I kind of have the head cock, like cock into the right here. So I'm going to do the same thing with the 3/4 where he's going to kind of overshoot, then settle into idle. So it feels like a different move than just the jump. And if I like this enough, I can actually apply this into the jump since it's the exact same spin. So if I want the jump to have a little more impact, I could always go in and just swap out those frames. And that's the beauty of when you work at this many different sprites. You can start picking apart. Like that blood, I only did once. So we got 4 minutes here. Let me see what I can do. I'll rough that out then. So I want the exact same timing though. That's what I was doing. Okay, so it's this frame. This is when his head's up. So I'm gonna kind of, I'll do 2 layers here. I'll copy the frame so I know exactly how many frames we need. And then I'll just kind of mark the ones where I know what has to happen with just a little flag here. Head up, like that, okay. This is when it's at its lowest point. But the jaws, so that's the low point. Low point. But this frame right here is when the talons kind of overshoot. Let's call that talon over TO. And this is when it starts going back. So this is like the end of that settle. We'll call it like settle. And then this is just an ease in, ease out, which I'll know by the framework. So I'll copy these frames now. I know it ends there. Paste them there. And then I kind of got the groundwork of what I need to do to extend his hand here, his mouth here. So this is the part where I'll start with, actually. You see how when you do that, when I broke the layers so I could see all the layers under it before I settle it, that to me is actually more distracting for some reason. Though I could argue I could see where the legs are staying. But so I'm going to just deselect it here. Now if you can see it, it's all one solid piece of work. So he's twisting. He's twisting his head so his head turns around this way. So we're going to kind of continue that motion. So the head will actually go this way. I kind of want like his eyes to kind of stay, like his eyes are on the prize a little bit. So this is when still kind of looking at Becky if she's here. Say. So that's the part where it settles. Gonna just twist the torso a little bit. And then the legs just move accordingly. And just kind of eye that the best you can. It's this last back leg that gets really dicey. And this one you just kind of stretch the way the trajectory is. Okay. So this shot up here, I'm going to use that as a frame. So his head's going to be up here, kind of bending that way. Have secondary on the talons and the hair here. And then I'll just kind of wing it like that. Make sure I save here. And the legs go the opposite on this case because he's just landing. Put a little shadow there. So it kind of eases down. Now this is the part where he kind of overshoots here. So the head actually goes further this way, right? But the talons are gonna keep the secondary here. And then the talons kind of catch up there. But I'm gonna start in-betweening the head back at that point. Oh, I'm getting a cell phone call from Los Angeles. They must have heard all my trash talk. All right, well, it's 4:01. Good timing, everyone. Let's see, promotion time. Well, this will be finished next week. No more spider stuff. I think we exhausted the spider twitches, and I'm exhausted from it. You guys should sign up for bloodgame.com. We just threw out a bunch of cool artwork to people who have signed up. Thanks to all the new Twitch members who joined us. Hopefully you guys tune in next week. Twitter's always a great place for Blood. I think that's our hub for it, though you can join us on Instagram and Facebook. We might even check those. We're working on finishing level 1. We're getting it ready for some new festivals that we'll mention once we're a little more comfortable with telling you the festivals we're going into. We're also, Bob and I are going to sponsor a new festival in the summer for anyone in the city. It's just about animation. We might show blood, we might not. We'll discuss that further. But we will have the new short ready that Bob and I are working on now too. So if you like our animation, maybe you'll like the short. All right, I think that about does it. I'm Chris Burns, and that's Bob Fox. And hopefully we guys see everyone here next week. It's bad. Good industry venting session. Yeah, maybe I'll get some rest Thursday next time. You won't see cranky Burns. Hopefully happy Burns.
Although horror stories are quite fun.
Horror stories are always fun. Maybe we'll do a Thursday one where it's just industry people and we can all vent. All right, guys. Well, I hope you have a great weekend, and stay tuned and look out for all that new blood stuff. We appreciate it. Thanks, guys.